We're up to Kuf Ayin Dalid Amad Aleph, and we're up to about 5 lines from the top of the page. So the last things, this entire Perik chapter is all about the laws of a star, what qualifies as a valid star, how a star should be written, the parts of it are missing, and how the Adim sign, and all of these rules. And the last thing that we started learning yesterday, was the laws of an Arav. And that is a guarantor. So you have Reuben, who lends money to Shimon, but obviously he's concerned about his debt, so therefore he has an Arav, a guarantor. And we learned yesterday that 2 kinds of guarantors. There's an ordinary guarantor, an Arav, and then we have an Arav Kablan. Now, the Gemara yesterday went through the idea of an Arav. What's the idea of an Arav? Because he said a few words, therefore he's committed. What makes him committed? And in fact, isn't it an asmachta? Because this Arav, why does he sign there? Why he sign a guarantee? Because he thinks that the borrower told him he'll pay out. He just needs another name there to give security to the lender. So it's an asmachta, and it shouldn't be kind. But the Gemara concluded, Rashi says, "Bahi hano," that pleasure that the Arav receives, that this person is prepared to lend money because of this Arav gives the credibility that he has, that hano is what commits him to it. And basically there are 2 ways of understanding in the Rishonim what it is. One way of understanding the Rishonim, which is like the Rashbam, that because the only reason why the person is lending the money because of the guarantor, it's as if the guarantor is appointing this malva to be a shliach. You know what? It says, if you gave me the money, you give me the money, because the only reason why you're lending him is because it's me. So it's as if you gave me the money, and I'm telling you, you know what? Don't give it to me directly. Do me a favor, give it to that person, to the borrower. So in fact, the malva is a shliach of the Arav. So in a way, it's as if the Arav borrowed the money himself. It's a din mammon. That's one view of the Rishonim. That's why an Arav is committed, because as if he borrowed the money himself. The other way of learning is, the money went directly from the lender to the borrower. What did the Arav receive? He received hana, satisfaction. I will learn that a woman gives money to a very prominent person, and the person accepted it, she's mekudesh. It says ki yikach ish, so the man has to give to the woman. He did. The fact that he hana, the fact that he received that gift, she received pleasure that he recognized me, acknowledged me, accepted. That pleasure is worth money, and therefore she's mekudesh. And the same thing with an Arav. But then but there we said that the law is that first you go to the borrower. If the borrower cannot pay, then you go to the Arav. That's the arrangement. In fact, then you have an Arav Kablan. An Arav Kablan is where I sort of stand in the place of the borrower. Arav Kablan says, I'm taking full responsibility, or equal to the borrower. Then everyone says, it's as if you gave the money to the Arav, and the Arav then makes you a shliach to pass it on to the borrower. So by an Arav Kablan, so basically we have 4 din, just to summarize. We have 4 din where Rabbeinu Tam lines it up and all the Rishonim. Din number 1 is if it's just an ordinary Arav, first you have to go to the loifer. First you go to the borrower, and you exhaust every possible means of finding what, did he hide money, did he hide stocks, does he have anything? If it has nothing, then you go to the Arav. Then you have an ordinary Arav, but you said from the beginning, I have an option to either go to the Arav directly. There's severally, what's the lashon? Severally and lively, whatever the lashon here is. I can go to either one. In that case, you still go to the borrower first, but only of known assets that he has. We don't have to get a forensic accountant to go and look and find where he hid things. Then you have an Arav Kablan. Arav Kablan, you have a choice to go. Even if the loiva has money, you can go directly to the Arav Kablan and collect from him. You find it easier, more pleasant to talk to him, and let the Arav Kablan work it out with the borrower. That's what Arav Kablan is. He steps in, he takes over. Then the 4th one is where the Arav Kablan took the money, nasav and nasav miyad. He took the money from the lender and he physically gave it to the borrower. Then your only connection is to that guarantor. You don't even the lender has no right to go to the. The lender has no right to go to the borrower at all. If the Arav doesn't have anything, then we have a rule called shibuded ranasan, which is that if you cannot get from the borrower, from your borrower, then you go to whoever owes money to the borrower and collect from them. So then you can go to the borrower, but as shibud ranasan, and therefore you can only go to the borrower if you did a forensic search and there's nothing available by the Arav. Okay, those are the 4 steps of Arav. So up to the Gemara now, the lashon, just the text. Which words do you use that makes you an Arav, and which words do you use that makes you an Arav Kablan? So Amar Rav Huna, 5 lines on top to find out Amar Aleph. Amar Rav Huna says, Hilvayu, that if you lend money, Bani Arav, he said, the Arav says to the lender, lend him the money and I'll be an Arav. Clear. You told him to make a loan and you said an Arav. Hilvayu, lend him money when he pray. The emphasis is on the first word. Lend him money and I'll pay you back. Hilvayu, lend him money when he chay. Okay, that's basically a normal guarantor. It's a loan between the lender and the borrower, and I'm going to hear it as a guarantor. Hilvayu. If, in other words, it means we're reading into it. If he doesn't have, I'm the last resort. Hilveyu vani kul lashon arushin. These are all expressions of Arabic. He said, lend him the money. So it's between you and him. Lend him the money. If you say 10 loy, give him the money. It's as if I'm the one who's borrowing it, and now on my behalf, give it to him. That's a lashon of kabbalah. Vani kabbalah or 10 loy vani pareya, 10 loy vani chayev, 10 loy vani. The main emphasis of the 10. Kul lashon kabbalah. These all accept full responsibility. He steps in the place of the borrower. Yiboila, question is, he says one part of it. He says he'll lend, but this is nikabel. Here he's giving mixed signals. What's he trying to say? The first word is lend the money, which means I'm nothing to do with me. I'm just an outsider. But the next word he says anikabel. I'm stepping in. Or 10 like giving the money as if you're giving it on my behalf. I'm the kabel of any order. I'm merely a guarantor. How do we read that? If you use the word Adav, you're not. If you use the word Kablan, the Kablan expressly said that. Not everyone's a Talmud Chacham. We look at, not everyone understands the nuances. You use an explicit word. Rav Chizamar, no. I believe Rav Chiza says that every single, even if you say to him, 10 loy va'ani arav, you're a Kablan. Or even if you say, lend in the money, va'ani pareya, I'll pay you back. You didn't say I'm an order. You said I need to pay you a prayer, which is a lashon of a kabbalah. Or lend him an anichai. All of those things we said till now, they're all words of kabbalahs, except if you use the words hilveyu vani orv. Generally, a person gives a guarantee. It's much more than just giving a guarantee. If he's getting involved, I mean, he's prepared to pay you if he has to pay, and you can come to me first, unless he clearly stipulates hilveyu lend him the money, it's a loan, and ani orv. And I am an Arav. Only then, because he used both words, Hilveyu and Arav, then he's an Arav. You don't come to me unless you went through everything that the Leiva has and you realize he's destitute. Rabbi said, Punkakek. Kulan Lashon Arav saying, even if you said to him, lend him the money and I'm a Kabbalah. And before we said that, you said lend him, but since you said the word lend him, it's an Arav. Bar, the only time you're actually a kabbalah, because people don't, it's a big responsibility to be a kabbalah. It's one thing that how many times people ask you can be just a guarantee, be an order, I have to get a gemach, I need an order. Because you think that you're never going to end up paying. Because the guy says, don't worry, I'll pay you, I just need a signature. But, what do you call it? They're all Lashon Arabs, except 10 Arav Kabbalah. To be an Arav Kabbalah is a, what do you call it? To be an Arav Kabbalah is a big responsibility, a big undertaking. And therefore, because it's a big undertaking, it doesn't count. People don't do it unless they clearly say so. I said to Ravashi, my father Mema said, he once told me that he said 10 loy, the ani noisen, give him and I will give you, right? Which is like real Kabbalah. It's such a kabbalah that ain't a malva ala leivaklum. The malva doesn't even have an option to go to the borrower. He goes only to our kabbalah. Says that's definitely not true. Why? It doesn't make sense. The fact is that guy borrows the money and I'm helping him out, and you come only to me. The only time we say that is if the Arav physically took the money from the lender and then he related to the borrower. It's as if the lender lent the money to who's the leiva in this case? The Arav is the leiva. And therefore, that's the only time that he goes directly to the. There was a judge, there was a judge that went ahead and showed the malva, the estate of the leiva. Before he showed the malva the properties of the leiva, before he even went to the leiva to go ahead and to see whether the leiva has money to pay or not to pay. Says the Gemara. Said you can no longer be a dayan. You're not qualified to be a yan. You know what you're doing. Why? Amar of a man chakel mevekir milso who is intelligent, who's so smart to know these dinim. Unless it's him he holds you're already working out all the properties of the loiva, right? And you're saying, okay, we're going to seize this property, that property goes in money. He says the properties of a loiva are an odev. Just like you have a person who's an odev, the properties nichse the inish arevile. These are an odev for the loan, and the malva lends money because he feels that he'll get from the property. And what's the din? You don't go to the order first. First, you go to the loiva. The loiva has no cash, nothing else. Then you go to the properties. They are araven to the loan. But now, you put an order. You don't go to the order first. And therefore, and just like we don't go to an order, why don't we go to an order first? Why don't we go to an order first? There's a whole chakita why we don't go to an order first. And is it because that's the din? The din is you don't go to the order first? Or is it because why be matriach the order and then the order has to go and turn around and get the thing? It's much a mental kite. The guy didn't borrow the money. The other guy borrowed the money. Go to the other person. Because now learn enough means a lot, which in these two ways. We'll leave another time. Who Arvid? There was an order of the Yasme, there was an order of Yisayim, the party, the Malva, Mekam, there's an order of Yisayim, there's a outstanding loan. So this order wasn't paid without even first telling the Yisayim, and that's important. Why is it important? Because Yisayim do not pay their father's loans if it's not a star, if it's a milva ped, they don't pay their father's loans. And why not? Why do you have to pay any Balchay? Why pay a loan? It's a mitzvah. What mitzvah is it? Rashi and Ksuda Pebab told us because it says Hin Shochat Tzedek V'Lav Shochat Tzedek. Therefore, whatever when you said you'll do something, you have to pay. That's why you have to pay. Other Rishonim totally disagree. They say we had more in Hazov. We learned other things there that you shouldn't have Echa B'Peh V'Echa B'Lev. You got to be on. Nothing to do with paying alone. There is an opinion that says the Rambam. The Radvaz understands the Rambam that paying a loan is from Lesigzon. That if you take a loan from somebody, you don't pay back, you're a ganef. Rashi, right in the beginning of Sanhedrin, which we're going to learn in a few days from now, the very top of Rashi there, Rashi says, halva is not a ganef. When is a gneva? Only if it came to you illicitly. By halva, you had every right to take the money, and you're not paying back. So how can you be called a ganef? A ganef is the act of taking something that doesn't belong to you. Here, he had every right to have the money. Now I have an obligation to pay you. So they bring Yaitse Avot L'chutza, other psukim that maybe that's where the mitzvah is, or not. Others want to say that when the Zarvaz mean that not paying back a loan, you're a ganav is you have the money and refuse to pay back. If you don't have the money, since you had a right to spend it, and you just don't have the money, how can you be a ganav? You have every right to spend it. I don't have what to give you. You're not a ganav. You have a mitzvah to pay back. But when you have the money, you just refuse to pay back your loans. Then the Radvaz, that's what Radvaz means in the Rambam that you're a ganav. That's what someone for the Radvaz. Anyway, so he said mitzvah. The Yasser mitzvah. You should not make a mitzvah. So why is the other paying? If the Yisayim in the loy mitzvah doesn't have to pay, why are they paying? Who Rabbi Yeshua says, he said, you know why you don't pay? Because maybe the father actually gave a mashkin to the lender, and the children don't know anything what's going on. When they're older, they'll hire him, lawyers, him, and they'll work it out and then defend themselves. Now they can't defend themselves because of the word 30. But either way, you don't have to pay. So why did the other pay without even going to the Simon first? Says the Gemara, my not community is the reason. My benayu. The difference is if the guy, the father, before he died, he said, I still owe the money. If the problem is chashin litzrari, there's no chashin litzrari, he says, clearly I still owe the money. The children have to pay. But if it's because of a mitzvah to pay back loans, yasmer la b'nei mevnitzu. And under bas mitzvah, they don't have to do mitzvah, so they're exempt. When they get older, you worry about it then. Or inami the shamtu u'meiz v'shamtei. They put the mechedim because he refused to pay his loan. And he died as an action. He died while he was in Cherem. So clearly he didn't pay the loan, never gave Sarari because he didn't. Well, why is he in Cherem? So they sent from there. They asked, they concluded, if somebody died in Chedems, if you learn like Rav Papa because of mitzvah, then the children are still exempt from paying. But if you learn like Huna B'nei Yeshua, that the reason is we're saying maybe he paid off the malva, in this case we're not worried, then you have to pay. They have to pay. Says the Gemara, makes a last question. If an Orev, let's say he paid off the loan to the lender, and now he turns to Yisayim and he wants to get paid back. And he said, look, I paid your father's loan, now you owe me the money. He doesn't collect. He doesn't collect until the Yisayim are old enough that they can defend themselves. Um, and one of the things they do is they say swear that this is you taka did it, even though you have a star, and he'll have to swear to collect his money. Because it didn't have bol the potom, and if you say him, doesn't get paid unless he swears. But the im cost of boy, if the lender wrote in the star, he's kabalti mimcha, I received my money from the Arab, then he can collect from the same. Let's understand. He's Bishleim Rab Huna Berei. Of course, the reason why you don't pay is because maybe the father already paid off by paying a tzrari a mashkin. So now we can understand when can you collect the same. The father before he died was Maida. And now he has a document saying clearly that he paid off the lender, and the father admitted that he owed the money, so he has every right to go to the same and say, look, your father never paid, you owe me the money. Irrelevant whether they still owe the money or not. The word is a mitzvah, and the mitzvah children have mitzvah. Nu kasha. So what if he can prove with the veracity of the star he to pay it up? So what? But where do you say about mitzvah? Why should you pay it up? Shiny Hassam there is different. You know why it's different? Lahachi kasav lehis kabalti. That why did he write lehis kabalti? Why did the Malva write? I received the money. What did he achieve by adding those words into this document? The fact that he has a shtar milva in his hand doesn't prove that he paid off the lender. Why he added words kabalti is because when he's saying kabalti, it's as if the lender now is out of the picture, and the order became the new lender. It's now a milva b'shtar. If he doesn't really have that in the shtar, he paid off the loan. Okay, the loan's over. Now it's like I create a new loan, a milva peh that you owe me, and the milva peh is only paying because of mitzvah, and mitzvah children don't do. But if the milva b'shtar, you don't pay milva b'shtar because of mitzvah, milva b'shtar because there's a lien on your nechasim, and the nechasim have to be paid out. And even you say pay a milva b'shtar, it's only a milva peh they don't pay. By putting the word hiskabalti, as if the malva steps out of the way, and now the new lender with this shtar is the orev. Milva b'shtar he collects. So no raya one way or another from here. Who Arvid is an order that for a Jewish person to a goyish a lender the party I asked me and he paid it off before the assignment. He didn't want the assignment to be troubled or bothered. He thought he'd be a nice guy. He paid off the guy. He said, name it over. I feel even according to Yeshua, it says we're worried about maybe the father paid, but when it comes to a goy, we're not worried. That's only by Yid. But by a goy, even the basar arva azul, by a goy, their custom, their method was that if there's a guarantor, they go straight to the guarantor. They never go to the borrower. They tell the guarantor, "You work it out with the borrower." They go straight to the guarantor. So therefore, there's no reason why the borrower ever would have given tzrari to the guy. Why would he? The borrower knows that we waste of time giving tzrari because he doesn't come to me anyway. I'm waiting for the Arav to come to me to collect. So we're not worried about tzradi. So therefore, the guarantor then paid it off, and the guarantor can take from the assignment because definitely the father owes the money. He never paid it to the guy. Omar the Basha said, "Adarabah." On the contrary, you think tzradi means to the lender. Tzradi could also be that maybe the father gave it to the Arav. Since by goyim, the custom is that the new lender becomes the guarantor. The lender itself never goes to the borrower. The lender goes to the guarantor, and the guarantor then goes to the borrower. It's as if the guarantor is the lender. Maybe the father gave tzrari to the guarantor to placate him, because why should a friendly guy who has no benefits put his name on the line? What does he gain from it? Nothing. So therefore, he said to him, "Don't worry. Here's a guy. Here's my mashkin, a bundle of money, and it's in case whatever I don't pay you." So faket, we're still chosh tzrari, but not to the lender, to the order by goyim. Even a papa who's not worried about tzradi. Hanimil Yisrael, the goyish lender. But by goy, keeping the dinayu basa arbas, they always go to the order. Why would the order get involved? Why would the order get involved in a goyish lender when he has nothing from it and he'll mamish have to pay? No, nothing. Then Mishnah said, Shbag says that somebody who's an Arab to an Isha. When you come to Ksuba and you're a guarantor, the husband will pay you out if there's a divorce, whatever it is, I'll pay you out. Doesn't really have to pay. Says the Gemara story, and we'll see why. Moshe Bar Atzi, very interesting. There's no town of a name Moshe, but it seems common folk had a name called Moshe. Always wondered why there was no town that called him Moshe. So I saw somewhere it says because nobody used the name of Moshe at all. But you see right here, an ordinary person, his name was Moshe. Arva the Ksuva, so he was an order for the Ksuva of his daughter who ended up marrying a Talmud Chacham. So this guy was for whatever reason was Zoiche that his daughter should marry Talmud Chacham. Rav Huna Brei, his son, Tzurbin Rabban Habe. That's what happened. that this Rav Huna, who married his daughter, was a Talmud Chacham and the Chikla Milsa. They were a poor person, and for some odd reason, Moshe Bar Atza did not support his daughter, and so maybe he wasn't very happy that he had a son-in-law who kvetched the bank because hadn't koil all day. He wanted a son-in-law in business or whatever. He didn't give them a red cent. Omar Abaye said, I have a wonderful idea for this Talmud Chacham. Leka, and he just didn't say, I'm going to tell him, I'm going to put it out in the base of medrash. Leka, there's nobody here, the nasal who will go, the Nazbe Eitzel Rav Huna, give advice to Rav Huna. The Nigyu Shaladvisu, let him divorce his wife, and he has the money, he can't pay her the ksuva. So the father-in-law who signed as an order will pay. The Tezel with Tibik Suvasamavu will collect the ksuva, but Hadin Hadze. So if you're an order of ksuva, you have to pay. So therefore, let him. The son-in-law can't afford it. So therefore, the father-in-law will come in, pay out the ksuva to his daughter because he's a guarantor, and then they'll remarry, and they'll have the money and share it between each other. That's the only way he'll get money from his father-in-law, from his father-in-law. So then let him do that trick. Like a Rabhuna, the initial divorces wife, but he will take the to get the collective ksuva, and then remarry her. Rabba said, it says in the Mishnah, before you collect money, for this very reason, it says in the Mishnah, before you collect money from the guarantors, the husband has to make a neder al das rabim, a neder that you cannot break. I'm making a neder not li rabim, because then you can get them all together and annul your neder. Al das rabim, on the mind of the whole world, that so and so and so, that I'm not going to take my wife back, because otherwise, the other is scared, they do this trick. So what are you doing? Abai said, very important Gemara here. And this is the 8th year of keeping. Call the megadish bebeidin and megadish. You think you have to give a get in front of a bezin? A bezin knows the halachas, but you can go to anybody and get a get in front of them. You don't need a bezin. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So if so, they won't know that you have to make this neder. The end it turned out to be this guy's a kohen. So if he would have divorced his wife, he couldn't get it back. It wouldn't have helped. I'm going to buy you the famous saying, Hainu the Amri Inche, people say Murphy's Law. The poor just get poorer all the time. They have no luck. What a wonderful idea. His wife, he has to be a kohen. So a kohen married a bas Amar, sorry? Could be. Sure, but now that he married his daughter, so we'll see it. So we'll see in a minute. Did Abai say that? What Abai had before? Abai said, "Ezo Russia Arum." Who is a conniving Russia? When are you Russia? When you give advice and you gain nothing from it. If I'm a little bit cunning, but at least I gain something. If I get something from it, okay, we can understand. You're unethical maybe, but we won't call you a Russia. But if I have nothing from it, and I'm giving advice to do something that legally, it's a legal loophole, and you're hurting somebody else, that's called the Rosh Hashanah. And we had the case there, remember Rashbag said, I'm giving you this property, but when you die, pass it on to the next person. And technically, according to Shimon Gamliel, if the first person would have sold it, the next person gets nothing. It's only if there's something left. So if I advise the first person, you know what, you want to leave something for your kids, sell the property, and therefore there's nothing to give to the other person. That's a Rasha Adam, because what do you gain from it? And the value you heard, the intentions were that he wanted this donor eventually wanted to pass on to Shimon, and you just prevented that, even though it's legal. So what answers B'nai Shiny, Shiny. When it comes to family, it's very different. That you take what do you mean? You're allowed to give advice, such advice, because at the end of the day, you're not losing. What are you doing? Giving money to your kids. So it's not the end of the world. And plus, he's Talmid Chacham, he deserves to have some money. You should be able to sit and learn. So therefore, in this case, it's not called a Rasha Arum. It's not Stam in the Welt, you're trying to hurt somebody. And it's not really called hurting if you're helping out your own kids. Now, big machlekes now in the Achrein. Big machlekes, I would say, but you know, Yehuda and the Chassam Sofer. So do you need a bezin for Gittin or not? The Neid of Yehuda proves from many places that you do need a bezin. First of all, there's a din you shouldn't give a get by night. If it's not a din, why shouldn't you give a get at night? The fact that you now give a get at night means that's a din in a din Torah, which is that you have to do. But the Ebbe did at night, you're because even a din Torah, but the Ebbe did at night, it's all right. But it should be only done a bezin. Rashi says in the beginning, again, Rashi in Sanhedrin, because it talks all those Sanhedrin, it says miyunin by a mean. If a girl under 12 wants a mine, she has to do it before gimel for 3 people. And Rashi says, could call the tikkun rabban, came the nicer tikkun. And miyun is like a get. So we see clearly from here that Mahat Torah get needs 3 people. And that's the idea of the halach is very strong. And he talks about these few cases where Rabbanim alone gave a get on their own, or a Rav took two other people, but there was one of them was his brother. And the Bezin, you can't have a Karev. He came very strong against it. Why Taka is it a din? Why would you need three people? Because there's mumminess involved. Because every get comes along with the ksuba. Every get comes along with the thing that she brought in. And because of the mumminess part of the get, maybe that's why you need a bezin of three. The Chassam Sefer and others say, how come nowhere in Shulchan Aruch does it say that you have to have a bezin? There's nowhere in Shulchan Aruch you say you have to have a bezin. And they wonder if that's such a din, how can it be like and the Gemara doesn't say anyway you need a bezin by three. There's one Ramah somewhere talks about a bezin, but in a specific case. But, otherwise, nothing. And the Bes Yosef in Kuf Yuzayin says clearly you don't need a bezin. He talks about you don't need a bezin openly. So on the tour. So what is so others want to say, you know why you need a bezin by a get? Those who say you need a bezin is because a get can be forced, and you cannot do anything by force unless you have the koich of the bezin behind you. So then the poskim want to say where it's an amicable get. There's no fight involved. There's no whatever it is. An amicable get. So generally, Rabbeinu Gershom has to be that way. If an amicable get, you don't need a bezin. But what's fascinating is Rabbeinu Gershom here. I'll read you Rabbeinu Gershom here. When the Gemara says you need a bezin, says Rabbeinu Gershom, this whole thing is in a long pischei tshuva in Dinei Get. In where is that? There's a whole simon where it's called Dinei Seder Haget. And there's a long piece of tshuva that goes through all the different poskim. But look at Ben Geshem because he says a fascinating thing. The Gemara clearly says, I mean, what do you need more than this? The Gemara says, "Otu kol every get is done from a bezin." Says I'll just read the Ben Geshem. I can't even find it here. The Ben Geshem says, about 5 lines at the bottom of the page. You think every bone goes to bezin? Afilu lifnei bezin hedyed yochel garish. Not that you don't need a bezin. You don't need a bezin of experts. You can have three people sitting there who are not experts, it's ordinary people. And they don't know, they don't know that you're not allowed to, that you have to make this neder, that you're not going to have any benefit. In other words, what's a Ben Geshem clearly saying? Like the Nebuda. Like looks like a Ben Geshem. I don't think he brings a Ben Geshem. They all bring a Tag Mienisim and a Zeal that says that you have to have a bezin to get. But as you know, all the poskim say you cannot paskin for Yenis ben Azil. For example, just give an example, Yenis ben Azil says that Leisilbush Geber is that a woman is not allowed to wear tzitzis mahatayda, no kiddush with tefillin mahatayda. And in Shulchan Aruch it says clearly they can. The only reason why they don't is for other reasons, gufnaki, or since men are not chayiv with tzitzis. So it shows clearly whenever Yenis ben Azil argues with a psak in the Gemara, we don't follow Yenis ben Azil. And here the Gemara clearly says you don't need a bezin. But a Ben Geshem changes it around. He says you don't need a bezin of mumchin, but you need a bezin. Controversy goes on. Interesting idea. Okay, anyway. Says he want to write. We also had the Gittin of one base. Says he want to write. Va'arev hu l'chayde. Well, he is an arev, and we learn later on. Became an arev d'ksuva le'mishtabed. We learn later on that an arev by ksuva doesn't really work. But when you became an arev ksuva, you never meant it to pay off the ksuva. You just wanted them to get married. You were either shatchen, you're a relative. You wanted them to get married, and you're hoping that once they get married, they'll live happily ever after. And therefore, you never meant it. Gemara says Kablan Habe was more than just an Ur. You're right, there's no Ur, but he was a Kablan. He like Mamir stepped in, therefore he's responsible. There's a machlek is what happened when you became an Ur and the borrower had no money at the time. No, an Ur you never really intended to pay, right? So if the borrower had some property and the borrower said, look, I'll take care of it, don't worry, I'll pay. Okay, so then you're happy to be an Ur. But if the borrower had no money to pay, then you never wanted to be an Arab, then you're not really an Arab at all. What are you not responsible? The guy had no means of paying. He's a honich, the mando when it comes to a kabla. Kabla is much stronger. You're prepared to do a lot more than an ordinary Arab. So according to one who said by kabla and diksuv, even though it's not the chasr bal yemishtabed, shab is good. Ela mandam and islam mishtabed, less than mishtabed, make a member. If one who says that it has good, if that not, what are you going to say? That when he buys, same if you want, we're talking about a case with a loiva. The son-in-law had money when he married the daughter, but then he lost it. So therefore, he did become an Arif. Or he buys him. This is different. A friend, you're right. He didn't really want. He just stepped in there like by Tanoim. You say, oh yeah, who wants to be an Arif here? and pay for the whole wedding, whatever it is. Because you're sure that you want to do just to facilitate the thing and expedite it, but you're sure that's going to go ahead. A father is very happy for his daughter to get married, and therefore he means it, even though someone didn't have any money. Even we learn. An Aruk is not Meshubid. Kablan the Balchayv, you Hakam Mishtabed. A Kablan by a Balchayv, everyone holds a Mishtabed, even the Balchayv didn't have money because you're a Kablan. You go way beyond an ordinary Aruk. However, Kablan, the Ksuva, and the Aruk, the Balchayv, what about an Aruk, a regular Aruk by Balchayv? The Balchayv had no money. Pligi Mashav, and he is the Chasim, the Leiv Mishtabed. Only the Leiv had the Chasim, then a pit to become a Bakar. He, less Leiv, it turns out to be, had no Chasim, the Mishtabed. Well, I'm not going to become a guarantor knowing I have to pay definitely. In all cases, if I prepared to become an audit and the guy told me that he's going to obviously pay, I trusted him. The Hilchos and Allah is audit, Bain audit, Bain Islay, Bain Leslie, Mishtabit. Whether he has right now money, he doesn't have right now money, you're Mishtabit because you believe him that he'll pay when the time comes. However, Barma audit the Ksuva, when it comes to Ksuva, the Islay the Bala Mishtabit. He never really meant it. My time a mitzvah of the they're doing a mitzvah, they're getting married, and you're helping it out, you're facilitating it. So you didn't really mean to pay off, you just wanted to go ahead. And what did the woman lose there? By a loan, when I become an order, the Malville lent $100 because of you. He might never get his money back. He put his money on the line, so you have a commitment. Over here, what happened? She married the guy. And we had so many times the Gemara that being married is such a wonderful experience. Tov the mate of Tandu that she didn't lose out, even if it ended the Kiksuba. There's no money. She didn't lose out all the years that she was together. When it says Shchibin, she didn't call Shchibin. It was Makdish all of in the Chasim. But he said Mana Leplani. And afterwards he says, by the way, $100 of my money belongs to that person. The question is he cheating Hegdish, or do we say that no, he's telling the truth, even though he made everything Hegdish? This was different. Even though we had a whole question in the Gemara before, if you can change your mind once you give all your Chasim to Hegdish. We said if you gave all your Chasim away and then you recovered, you can change then it goes right back to you. What about Hegdish? You gave it all to Hegdish and you change your mind. Does it go back to you or not? One had a question there, and it seems from here that L'chayda we cannot change your mind because he can change your mind. What's the shaila? Of course, he can change his mind and say, "I'm going to give $100 here." So Taisa actually says this Gemara is talking about you committed everything to Hegdish when you were a healthy person. So there's no changing mind. The question is, do we trust you that you're saying you're saying the truth now that $100 of that what you have is actually somebody else's? Surely nobody's going to cheat Hegdish. Will a person cheat his children? They both say, he said, I have $100 that this guy owes me. If he said, give it to that person, nice, you give it. If he doesn't say the word tunu, he said $100 that's sitting in my house that actually belongs to the uncle. But if he doesn't say give it to the uncle, you don't do it. Why not? If he's saying clearly this money is not mine, why don't you give it to the uncle? Because Alma Adam has been when he said he made up a story, he concocted the story. He doesn't want people to think, oh, we're so rich. He wants people to think that this guy has to borrow money from everywhere. There shouldn't be any Ein Horus. In fact, very interesting. Abedi Gesh says the last line. I'll just read it to you because it's interesting. He says, why do people people try to hide sometimes their assets? They don't want people to think they're rich. Why? The last few words, people shouldn't go around saying, that's such a big Yerusha, the nice thing by ayin. And they give him the eye. They give him the eye. And that's why, so maybe the same with Hegdish. She wants to sort of say that everything is Hegdish, although I have nothing for my kids, they shouldn't be ayin hora. So maybe a person is he just made it up that this money belongs to somebody else only because he doesn't want people to give an Ein So so maybe over here a Hegdish, same thing. He didn't want. He said he meant I'm giving a Hegdish, and the reason why he's saying that money is not even mine is that people shouldn't think he has so much to give to Hegdish. He doesn't want people to walk around saying he's a rich man. So the Gemara Kikom and Abuna Hasan. When does Abuna say that? When does Abuna say that? The Nokit starter. It's talking about a case that when does Abuna say that you is only in a case who's holding onto a star that it belongs to another person by Hegdish. When he said, I have $100 that belongs to Yankel, he has a star in his hand that says it belongs to Yankel. And that's what Abuna says is in that you believe him and you give it to Yankel because he's holding onto a star. Says the Gemara, if so, McCloud at Abba Shmuel, how come at Abba Shmuel's case when he said I have $100 to the person, you don't have to give it? Must be talking about the Leinakashtada. It's talking about a case where the person who is dying is not having a shtar. He just tells his children, by the way, $100 here is Yankel's money, not our money. right? So we're saying that he didn't really mean it. He just was talking about a case where there's no star. If he had a star, just like in Abuna's case, if he had a star that this money taka is owed to another person, to a lender, then you have to pay it. But Rabbi Shmuel say you can keep the money because there's no star. He just said it. We believe that he made it up. so you might ask the question, if so what does it help if he says give it? If he says this is a loan and let's say give it, you said if he says true, then you have to give it. Why? There's no star. It's a milva peh. And what did we learn before? Yorshim don't have to pay the loans of their father. It's an oral loan. A milva star have to pay. But milva peh, they don't have to pay. But I was one of I milva peh, you gave them the Yoshim, you don't have to collect from the Yoshim, remember the machlekes, if you do, you don't. But I was you don't. We'll see the Gemara later whether the machlokes based on machlekes is whether shabur the rice or shabur the bun. Elam Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, "I'll tell you what. Even they're both talking about side the case of Hegdish, side the case of Abba Shmuel about money, and is talking about he had a star. Yet if he says tnu, you pay. If you don't say tnu, you don't pay. There's a difference. Well, like kasha, if the star is certified, that's Abuna's case. If the Abuna's case had a star with a certificate, we know it's real. It's real. Even though he said everything is Hegdish, but he has a star that $100 he owes to whatever to the lender, you have to pay it. The star. In Rabbi Shmuel's case, the guy said this money belongs to the lender. There's a star there, but it has never been certified. So therefore, if he says tanu, he just certified it. He says based on the star, give the guy person. What's he saying? The star is valid. Kaim the star. Use mekayim the star. Like kaim the star. What's mekayim the star?